Hi, my name's Uncle Raccoon, and welcome to my den, where we're gonna yap about whatever I want, because I can. So, I had the idea to make a few videos about music of my favorite video games. The video games I have on mind are TRICKSTYLE, Speedbusters, Motor Racer, Revolt, and The Neverhood. You can probably see that my choice of video games is not very recent. I peaked as a gamer in the late 90s and early 2000s, but these are games that really influenced my music sense and music taste up to this day, and I actually listen to all of these original soundtracks on a daily basis. So I thought it would be nice to go into depth with the music, because I know my music. I am a musician, I'm a singer, and I just thought it would be really interesting to go into that. Okay, to give you a little view into gaming culture in my country in those days, there was none. I'm not from an English-speaking country. I'm from the Czech Republic, which only, let's say, recently got away from under the Soviet influence. It was in the early 90s when we stopped being a part of Russian occupation and became our own country. And during the communist regime in here, it was pretty much impossible to get a computer or a gaming console. You could only get some if you were a very prominent Communist Party person, usually in Prague, and you had to be very wealthy, because these things just weren't brought into our country. So we got our first computer way after the Velvet Revolution, in the 90s, and it was a computer my parents got from work. I kind of believe that what happened there was that the company was getting rid of old computers, so they sold them for a lower price to their workers, and my parents took advantage of that. So it was an old, I think Windows 98 computer. I'm not really sure what the first one was, but I remember playing games like Prince of Persia and Dina Blaster and stuff like that. That might be on the newer computer we got later. Yeah, getting games at that time for someone who lived basically in a village was insane. Like, you couldn't go to a store and buy a video game. This just wasn't an option. So we got this one CD, burnt CD, I might say, that my parents got from their colleagues at work again. So there must have been someone who had access to internet, because not everybody got that back in the day. Someone who had access to internet, someone who could speak English and understood English enough to get to some website and download the games, and then someone who had a computer able to burn the games on CDs. So it was kind of insane, and I can't fathom how much my parents had to, pay for that one CD with old 8-bit games on it. But later, in the later 90s and early 2000s, we actually got some brand name games, and usually it was racers, as you can see from the games I'm gonna talk about, like TRICKSTYLE, Speedbusters, Motor Racer, Revolt. They're all race games. We also had, Heroes of Might and Magic and stuff, but we couldn't understand shit. I was a child. I've never heard English in my life. I also had way later, I had The Sims, the first game, also in English. I couldn't understand shit in there. So these race games were the best we could do as kids, and it's easy to play as a kid, or so you would think it would be easy to play as a kid. All these games are hard as shit, because back in the day, games weren't made for children. When you ask about gaming in the 90s, in the Czech Republic, I usually say the comparison that when kids in the United States spent their recess playing Pokemon on their Game Boys, my elementary school didn't have toilet paper. So that's how far behind we were. So games like TRICKSTYLE and Speedbusters and Motor Racers and The Neverhood were sent to us from heaven. It was something absolutely unfathomable. And, we started on Prince of Persia and these like 8-bit looking games. And sorry, that's my cat. And suddenly like TRICKSTYLE happened. We, of course, had it on burnt CDs, just to reiterate, we had not a single original copy of any game at that point. That was just impossible in here. So TRICKSTYLE happened. And that's what I'm gonna talk about today. I'm gonna talk about TRICKSTYLE. And there's the thing. I wanted to talk about the music of these games, but TRICKSTYLE is different, because the more I thought about the music and the more I listened to it, I started realizing that something's not right with the game. I started realizing that it's weird, man. It's weirder than I remember, and it's very uncanny. And so I started thinking about it a little deeper. For those of you who actually know the lore of TRICKSTYLE, what I'm gonna say and discuss in here is gonna be like, yeah, duh, but I didn't have the booklet. I never had official information about TRICKSTYLE, so I never really even thought about it. Again, it was in English, so I didn't even read much of the stuff that was there because I couldn't fucking read it. I'm just gonna go on a whim here and do some, first of all, thinking. And we're gonna try to figure out what TRICKSTYLE is about, because it's about goddamn time I learned the fucking truth. So yeah, TRICKSTYLE is a racing game that came out in 1999. It came on PC, Microsoft PC, and it came on Dreamcast. And there's one of the problems I ran into. I had the PC version, and apparently the Dreamcast version had some differences, and a lot of people actually know the Dreamcast version better than the PC version, because, back in the day, in America and the UK, where it was played mostly, video game consoles were more prevalent than gaming PCs. To give you a quick overview of what TRICKSTYLE actually is, it's not your regular racer, because you are racing on hoverboards. Yes, hoverboards. Not the ones we have right now, but the ones we've always wished for, which means the really like snowboard-looking things hovering above the ground. So it really was made to speak to skaters and snowboarders and surfers, which was something very popular back in the day. Not in here, but in other countries. Yes, very much so. The problem this game ran into was that in 1999, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater also came out, so skaters gravitated towards that game, and that's valid. I mean, it's Tony Hawk's name on it. Tony Hawk is cool. Like, yeah, I don't blame them. But me, as a little kid, I had no fucking idea who Tony Hawk was, and I got TRICKSTYLE, so I played it. The premise, the very basic premise without knowing any lore, is that you are racing through 3 different towns. You are not ever really told the names of the towns in the game. You just know you are in the Great Britain first, you are in the US next, and then the last big level is in Japan. It's got a very unique and futuristic look. The look that in the late 90s and early 2000s, people thought that's how future is gonna look like. Everything was very high-tech, very sterile, very rugged. And I absolutely love it, man. It looks so good. The game looks so good visually. I know it's polygons, but I love me some polygons, okay? That's what I grew up on, and I still love that. You race through the 3 cities. One in Great Britain, one in the US, and one in Japan. It's got very unique mechanics, because you get to the main menu where you can do your like regular stuff. If you play single player, you choose different options of graphics or of your controls, and then you are plunged into what's called a velodrome. Velodrome is basically your menu, as well as a place where you can practice, basically, because believe it or not, the controls are fucking crazy and it takes some getting used to actually play the game. As I said, you would expect racing game, it's gonna be easy. No, it's fucking not. But it's true that the mechanics and the physics of the game were quite praised within reviews, as well as the graphics and the visuals and stuff. It is something that you think you will see in like Animatrix or something. It is really in that line, and it's fucking awesome. First of all, when you go to the main menu and you have the controls and options and stuff, you get to pick the person you're gonna skate as. And we're gonna get into the characters later, but this is one of the things where it's a race game, but you get really invested into your characters. There's a good selection of them. They are very, and I mean like extremely stereotypical. Each of them is from a different country. Each of them has a different personality. It's very, and I mean very stereotypical. You pick one of them, then you pick your board, and you go into the velodrome, where you can learn how to actually operate the fucking board that's beneath your feet. It takes some getting used to, but you get used to it. Great. You then go into this small arena, which leads to a lobby. The lobby is specifically for one of the countries, so you go to the lobby of the Great Britain first, because there's the only one open. And there you have 5 doors plus a bonus door, each door being a level that you can race through. So you go to the first one, the second door opens, you go to the second one, you win it, the third one opens, and so on. You finish the bonus round, and you can get to another location. The velodrome opens another door, you get to a different training area that leads to another lobby, and so on. There's another dude, for as much as I know, his name is Guide, and I always thought he was really evil based on what he looked like. He is actually one of the 3 people that you actually know what they look like, because you can see their faces. He's got a picture there when he speaks, and then Angel and Zach, 2 of the racers, are on the title screen, and also they are on the cover art of the game. So those are the only 3 people you know what they actually look like. I know a lot of the ads in the magazines and stuff had Brad on it, which is another of the racers, but it took me a lot of time to figure out that it's Brad. It doesn't look like Brad at all. Mainly the hair is very different. But yeah, it's Brad. So we also know kind of what he looks like, and the rest of them are just polygon faces. And we have some cartoon renderings of them in the manual book that I will talk about later. Also, if you hear the floorboards, I'm really sorry. Our floorboards are very creaky, and I am recording this as I walk around because I cannot fucking sit at one place. So yeah, that's basically what you do. You have your little tiny blurbo on your little board, and you go through the different levels. The racing can be quite tedious and hard. It's not a game that you will like go through smoothly like butter on your first try. You have to usually repeat each of the levels at least 2 or 3 times to get it right, because there are very tricky areas. The good thing is that if you're observant enough, you can find shortcuts, and those shortcuts are pretty great usually, although sometimes they can actually make you slower, but you will figure that out over time. The bad news is that there's also a lot of areas where you can get stuck. And when you get stuck, you're fucked, because not only you are racing your opponents, you are also racing time. You have to go through checkpoints in time or it's game over. And if you get stuck somewhere, especially in the beginning when you have like the worst board and you don't really know what you're doing, if you get stuck for 5 seconds, that's a game over and you're not gonna finish, or you're gonna finish last. Which sucks, because you have to finish first to advance in the game. There are no second or third places, only the winners take it all. And the game makes it very obvious that this is a ride or die situation. because when you lose, yeah, your character is absolutely obliterated, dude. Like, they're literally crying on the board and very, very angry about it. And if you win, you are acting as if you won the world championships. It's really bizarre, as I learned later in life playing the game. What I have to say is that the tracks and the graphics are astonishing. It's really great. It's got amazing atmosphere. Everything is really futuristic. Sometimes there are like cars driving around, and there are also hover cars. Like, they're not normal cars. There are trains going and stuff that you have to not crash into. What really makes it glow for me is the music. And I'll tell you why, because when this came out in 1999, I reckon we could get it in like the year 2000. In the year 2000, it was released in Europe, so that's probably how someone my parents knew got it. So at the time, I could be like 6 or 5, probably 6, because I remember it. So I tried to play it a few times. It was too hard for me. I couldn't do it, but I had an older brother, so he played it and I sat and watched. And that's actually one of the reviews that you can read on Wikipedia. Someone gave it a review saying that this is a great game to watch, but an incredibly frustrating game to play. The controls are very wacky. The races, the tracks themselves are unapologetically hard. So I spent most of the time actually just watching it and listening. And that's why the music got so ingrained in my brain. So let's talk about the music. So the music was actually composed by Curtis Mantronic. And you probably know Curtis Mantronic. He was somewhat a hip-hop legend, and the game really benefits from what he has to bring. There are tracks that are hip-hop, there are tracks that are sort of like liquid drum and bass, and then there's just weird fucking music. I will let you hear some of them. My actual favorite track in there is the US Race 1. It's a liquid drum and bass, very, very calming and atmospheric track. I listen to it whenever I need to calm down a little bit. It has a great rhythm. It's, as I said, really atmospheric. Like, you listen to that and you can just imagine the future weird world that you are in when you're playing this game. Another interesting track to me is the track that plays during the opening title screen. That's very, very like late 90s and early 2000s track that I would probably see more in the Revolt games, but it fitted really, really well. Like, you see the face of Angel, you see the face of Zach, these like kids essentially who are great pro skaters, and they seem to be having fun on their boards, and that's what the music does. It just makes you look at them and be like, I'm gonna have fun playing this, and then you start playing it and you're fucking miserable. Another track is this like OG hip-hop track. Like, I cannot describe it in any other way. When you think of hip-hop, this is the song that should play in your fucking head. It's instrumental, that's what I should say. All the songs are instrumental, there are no vocals. It just gives you this sort of feeling of dread. It's not a happy song. It's not a song that will give you energy to drive. It's not a song that will make you feel happy that you're here. You often hear the song when you interact with the guide, And that's exactly why I thought the guy was fucking evil or was out to get me or something, because I couldn't trust him when he was talking to me and I was hearing this. Anyway, mostly when you get to Tokyo, you get to a really weird music territory. The songs get really erratic, and don't get me wrong, they get the atmosphere of the aerial Tokyo city so well. It fits it to the beat, because the city itself is fucking weird. Everything is like super technical around you, and everything is very ragged yet sterile. And you really don't know where you are. It's kind of nauseating to ride around Tokyo. And you get into this territory of music where it sounds more like... Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, to me, thinking and looking at this game and thinking about it, hearing this music makes me feel like you just told a computer to make a beat for you, to make an electronic music for you, an electronic song, and just puts these random fucking pieces together and then tells you like, yeah, this is a song. And I absolutely don't mean it in a bad way. I know it's something terrifying to say in the year 2026 when we have AI and this is something that could happen, but I know it didn't back in the day, and that the music is composed and made by a human being, which is great. But that's where I started thinking more about the whole game. Like, this music is fucking wild. Why? Like, genuinely, why? It's not appealing. And there is actually one review on the Wikipedia page from the time saying that, yeah, I had to turn the music off like immediately. I took it for like 2 minutes and I had to turn it off. Couldn't do it with that music. I had to turn it off. And I get it. I am a lover of weird music, so for me it's not painful to listen to. I love this sort of music. I don't have a problem with it. I listen to this sort of stuff when I go get the groceries and think about being in the TRICKSTYLE world and on a hoverboard and not living a boring fucking life where I have to go do the groceries and buy some milk. But I absolutely understand that for many people this music is gonna be very unnerving. And it's not just one track. There's a number of tracks. I will tell you, there's more tracks that sound like this than tracks that are actually like normal sounding music. And so the more I thought about that, I started thinking about why is the music like that? You want your players to feel good playing this game, and you want them to have fun. No? Question mark? So I started looking into the game itself. Probably once a year, I download the game again, because it's now on Steam, it's on GOG, you can get it, and it works. So, probably once a year, I download TRICKSTYLE again, and try to finish it, because I have never finished the game when I started making this video. I did it again. I played through it right to the last fucking level that I wasn't able to, finish. And I just looked at stuff, and I stopped racing for some time just to look at the towns and just to, soak it in and try to piece out together what's going on in there. Because what again, if you don't have any lore, you know that you are in the future. It never says that you are, but you are in the future because you are supposedly going through London, you are supposedly going through Tokyo, you're supposedly going through, I think, New York, and those places look nothing like that. You have some landmarks that you go through, like in London, you can go through the Big Ben Tower, but it's weirdly placed. and nothing makes sense in there, so you would think you're in the future, you know? Also, the hoverboards didn't really exist in the 1999, so that was another clue that it might be in the future. The clothes is very futuristic. Also, the selection of countries from which these characters are is really strange. You have, you know, you have the Britain, you have the UK, you have Japan. That's a given. You raised there, so you will think there are racers in these countries. But then you have a person from Cuba? Like, that's not a country I think of when I think of like sports. Then you have a dude from Germany, that's fine. I think I'm from Europe, so that's okay with me. You have the lady from France. Okay, absolutely doable, yeah. A dude from Russia probably wouldn't be there today, you know, due to the Russian occupation of Ukraine. But then you have a lady from Jamaica, which also, like, this isn't a sport that I have pictured in Jamaica for some reason, but that might be just me. And then I thought, okay, so let's look at it with brand new eyes. Stop looking at it as a video game you loved as a kid and try to piece it together. As I said, like, when you go through the London tracks, everything's kind of weird. Everything's kind of weirdly placed. You see landmarks together that shouldn't be together, for example. You also go through metro, through the tube, and the only train you see is parked. It doesn't go anywhere. And then you go out of the tube and it turns into tram rails, and the trams are just standing there. Nobody's going anywhere. What puzzled me the most is that you are racing through the center of a city and there are no people. There is no one. There's just the 5 or 6 of you racing and there is no one there. But you would think there would be people, because when you are in the velodrome, you hear them cheering on you. You hear the whole arena cheering on you when you do a stunt. So where the fuck is everyone? When you go to the US and you are supposedly riding Manhattan, you get to weird places where everything is kinda humid and overgrown by nature. That's not something I would expect in Manhattan. There are cars, there are hover cars, but you soon learn that they're going in very tiny loops. There can't be anyone driving them without going fucking crazy in there in the loop. You also find that you go through a metro in the Manhattan levels, and the train goes, but it's there only to fucking knock you off. There are no people in there. It's there just to knock you off your board. There's just you in the middle of fucking New York, and there's no one. When you go back to Velodrome and you try to do a few stunts, you can actually get above your eye line when you are on the ground. And you can see that the arena is supposedly full of people. Those are not fucking people. Those are just dots. Like, I know this is a polygon full game, but those are not people. Those are just dots. So who is cheering for me here? The only other person here is the guide. And from what I know, the guide is only in the PC game. And you actually go to him, you exchange a few words, and he helps you get better. Because you have to get better. Because if you want to win some of the later levels, your board is not enough. And your skills are not enough, especially when it comes to some of the bonus rounds, because some of them are stunt levels, which means you have to make stunts and collect a number of points before time goes out. And I hate to break it to you, but when you start, you have like 2 stunts, and it's like an ollie and a spin. And that fucking sucks. So yeah, sometimes it's a race against him. Sometimes it's an orb switch or orb collect. There are different like orbs, and sometimes you have a number of orbs in the whole Velotron arena, and you have to switch them to your color before the guide switches them his color. Sometimes you literally race him, sometimes you race in a track against the time, and usually involves a lot of loops to go through or hoops to go through. And that's how you earn new stunts. That's how you earn new boards. He is there really to help you. He tells you how to make the new stunt. And that's another thing where this game can be a pain in the ass. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert gamer or anything, but I think I'm pretty good at like these easy to play games. Well, first of all, I think you start with not 2, but actually 4 stunts. One is an ollie, one is a spin, then you have a luge, which means you go on your back on the board and propel yourself forward, and then there's a drill, where you go on your stomach on the board and you turn, and it makes some sort of like force field or something, and you can break objects with that, like some hurdles or some glass in front of you. So these are already 4 keys that you have to remember when we're not counting the arrows. And then you can do as much as I think like 20 different stunts that you have to learn, and you learn them through different combinations of the keys. And you really have to know them, because you can make some of them only in midair, or you're gonna fall off your board. So you have to know what you're doing. So there is a learning curve, and that's where the Velotron is very good for you, because you can actually practice all the keystrokes and get into it. But my question is, who the fuck is the guide? Why is he there? I know that for the purpose of the game, there must be someone to like teach you, but as far as I know, in the Dreamcast version, he's not there, and you just learn the stuff as you go through the game. So why is there the guide when he's clearly not fully needed there? I don't know. What I think about is that there might be some, corpo behind it that is trying to help the contestants to go through the competition. I really don't know. I'm boiling plain water here. But he's there, and he's trying to help you. And when you get through all the courses he's got for you, you go through one final course, which is one final race against the guide, after which he tells you, yes, you mastered everything, you're the best, here's a new board. I went off topic for a bit here, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, back to the weird stuff. I've told you about the weird stuff in Great Britain, told you about the weird stuff in Manhattan. Let's go to the motherfucking Japan, which is literally in the sky. You could notice some of skyiness in Manhattan. Sometimes when you do stunts and in certain areas, you see the skyline of the city reversed on itself, which is fucking weird. Like, that shouldn't be like that. As far as I know, Manhattan is on the ground. So when you get to Japan, it gets on a whole new level, because Japan is fucking in the sky. In the first few levels in Japan, it's not as obvious, but you can see that the sky is very low on you, and the sky is just very unnatural. The clouds are very unnaturally fast, and also a weird fucking color. And the skyline is kind of strange, but you think to yourself, okay, we're in the future. The architecture can be a little wonky, It's already wonky in here. It's fine. It's probably nothing to worry about. But then you get to the last level, which is literally a track built in the sky. And you can fall from the track. And when you fall from the sky. You can see no ground. And they let you fucking fall down to your fucking demise. There's nothing waiting for you in there. And the fall is really long, and once you start falling, you cannot pause the game to start over. So you have to go through the whole fucking fall. And now, imagine These characters are actually talking throughout the game. They say very stereotypical things, and when they fall or when they crash, they do a little oof. But the Japanese guy, called Shin, who looks like a fucking Power Ranger, he lets out this blood-curdling scream that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. So imagine him falling from the sky and letting out this blood-curdling scream. Yeah, I like that scream lives in my head rent-free for like forever, since I was 6 years old. That's where you kind of realize like what the fuck is going on. Also, when you start at the last track, that's the first track where there are people, because there are bleachers that they can actually sit at. But again, those are just fucking dots. Those are not people. So I don't know what's going on. And the track is fucking impossible to do. I actually managed to finish this track 2 days ago. For the first time in my fucking life. I started playing this game when I was 6. Now I'm 31. Don't get me wrong. I watched all the different playthroughs on YouTube. There's not many of them, but there are some. I tried to read some walkthroughs about that, because like it's a game from the 90s. There were written walkthroughs for games back in the day, and I couldn't do it. So 2 days ago, I finally finished it, and it really made me think about stuff like, what the fuck is going on? Let me go through some of my thoughts here. So what if we are not just in a future? What if we are in a dystopian future? Because that's how the world you interact with in this game looks like. You know, there are trams that don't work, trains that don't work. You can go through the tube because you know nothing will get you there because the trains don't work. There are no people around. There are flying cars going in loops, and you know only these other racers who go with you to Great Britain, who go with you to Manhattan, who go with you to Japan. Why would they do that in a dystopian future? How do they even go about when you know that public transport and transport other than your fucking hoverboard don't work? How do you people get there? The people in the velodrome are fake. The people at the last Japan track are fake. There is a cheering track played to you by someone, and you kind of probably believe it as a character because there's no doubt in them. They just go for it and they go ride or die. They are totally ready to get smashed to the ground, and mind you, nobody is wearing any fucking safety equipment. They have these giant boots that probably let them stick to the board. They have these hand things that I think are mostly just, you know, a fashion thing. But other than Shin, who has a helmet that has no shielding properties, nobody has any safety equipment. And let me tell you, you fall a lot in these games because there are people who are called bullies. As you pick a racer, you don't only pick a personality, you also pick a type of a racer. Some are exactly that, racers. They are fast and they go through the track as fast as they can. You have stunters who do a lot of stunts and get a lot of points for them. And you have bullies whose only purpose is to fuck you up. So if you play as one, you can get everybody off their boards. But if you don't play as one, every bully can fuck you up really bad. And somehow, you just get up. The speed with which you race is insane, and you can see that usually when you pause and want to close the race, and if you're in the lobby and go to the door of your race, because then the camera stops and you can see how fast you go, and it's insane. It's literally insane. Not to mention that the stunts you do are fucking high as shit. I have to tell you that if you play this game after a very long time of not playing it, your head is gonna spin and you are gonna feel nauseous from the height that you get into, because that's how real it feels, and the engine and the mechanics are really, really good. You are falling left and right, you get kicked around by the bullies, and you're fine. Nothing ever happens to you. Usually you go a little oof, and that's it. And then you keep riding, and some of them are just like, wee! Some of them are just like, yeah, get out of my way, I'm the fastest. And it's fucking insane. So who are these people? Like, this is not humanly possible. Then I started thinking about the music again. That's not human music. That's just a random collection of noises. Whenever there's a human voice in the songs, it's just a sample and it's distorted. So you can never hear what the person is actually saying in that sample. My guess would be that there is some computer making this whole thing up. And maybe it's for people to watch on TVs, to have something to watch. But I certainly wouldn't think that these people racing in the game are real. Especially with how generically stereotypical they are. This is something made by a computer that just was like, okay, let's make a British person, and it's just a baby Spice from the Spice Girls, you know? And it got me mentally very drained because this is a game I've been glorifying since I was a child, and I thought it was a fun little game. And suddenly I started realizing that shit's not right in here, everything's fucking weird, and I cannot trust anything and anyone in here. The other thing that really made me think was that when you win, as I said, when you win, you're really happy, and when you lose, you're fucked up. So what are the stakes? What are the stakes in this competition? Because these people are going into the competition knowing that they can fucking die, they can fucking fall from the sky and never be found again. There are people who are trying to actively get you off your board. They will fuck you up. You can get caught on every little corner, every little step, and just fall to your demise. What are you trying to win? And then I started digging. And let me tell you that getting information on this game is not easy. You have to dig a little deeper than a normal Google search. If you try to get the lore, at least for the basic premise of the game and the racers, you mainly just get the AI overview, which is something I'm not looking at when I do my Google searches. But I couldn't find anything else that would tell me a little bit more about the lore. And so I looked at it just for the sole reason to get the sources. And so I got to the sources that said straight up some of the lore of the game. But these sources had no sources. So I couldn't be sure like where they got this information and what the fuck is going on really. And there, some of the information was contradicting some other information, and it got really messy for me. So I remembered the one thing we had at the late 90s. It was games on CDs. And the CDs had booklets. And the booklets usually contained very important information. So I started looking for the booklet. And again, wasn't very easy, but I managed to get it. And it was a golden mine of information. And I was really happy to get that. Is it really funky? I actually got the booklet for the Dreamcast game, not the PC game. So there might be some differences and little changes, but I got the booklet and I thought to myself, you know, why not read it together and really learn the real lore of TRICKSTYLE. I will put down the website where I got the booklet so you can look at it on your own, but I will put all the pictures on the screen so you can read it with me. So first things first, this booklet has whopping 34 pages. That's how it was back then. Like, we really had booklets with all the information we needed. This booklet tells you stuff like the warnings, read this before using your Sega Dreamcast video game systems, cautions, health and epilepsy warning, operating precautions, precaution television warnings, Sega Dreamcast video game use, and stuff like that. And then you get the table of contents, and you learn about starting the game, about the story, about playing TrickStyle, about default controls, the guide menu, the challenges, the lobbies, the character bios, hover ride boards, the race worlds, track objects, and credits. So this was back in the day when you couldn't find all the information on the internet, but you didn't have to because you had it in your hand when you bought the game. This is why I miss physical releases and booklets so much, because not only it gave you important information, it also gave you the lore and it gave you a lot of art. So let's start at page 3, where the story starts, and we see the face of the guide who looks nothing like the guide. And when I looked at some of the wiki pages of the game, I found out that the guide is supposed to be from Jamaica. This is not a guy from Jamaica, people. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, in here he kind of looks like it, so let's go with it. And the guy tells you the history of the TrickStyle Pro Tour is not widely known. Only when contestants become professional are they likely to hear the whispers, the rumors from their fellow competitors. Let's listen to the story according to the current TrickStyle crew. So you learn there is something called TrickStyle Pro Tour. So these guys are really the best of the best, and they are in this Pro Tour. So they are going through the world on these like different stunt tours and stuff like that. This is Mia. She's from France. Down there we have Brad. As I told you, Brad looks very different on the prospect than in the game. But like then in this booklet, everyone looks very different. They are very differently stylized than they are in the game. Don't let it throw you off. So Mia starts telling us the story from her perspective, and this is fun because all of them talks about the happenings in a little bit of a different perspective, based on their lifestyle and their lives, really. So Mia says, in the year 2099, hostilities between the nations of the world began to intensify astronomically. The dominance war, la guerre de la technologie supérieure, soon began. I can't speak French, so pardon my French. It was a bloodbath like none before it. The world governments lost all power. Only the conglomerates, eager to protect profits, were willing to step in to stop the carnage. They promised a plan to force the world out of this tailspin and into a new age, the reconstructive age. And from the ashes of the dominance war, a new society would come. So yeah, we learned there was some sort of war that took over the earth, I guess, and everything went to shit. And it was the conglomerates and big corpos who tried to save everything, which is very alarming in today's happenings in the world. But let's go. Brad will tell us about how the reconstructive age begins. Hi mates, Brad here. Even though the picture that Mia's painting is, full of classic doom and gloom, there was at least some fun on the horizon. The reconstructive age was based on, companies helping to reconstruct society into a better and brighter place. And they succeeded, you bet. So what this tells you is that Brad is a fucking bootlicker and loves capitalism, which makes sense when we later look into his life bio. We go to the next page, and here we have Rose. She will tell us about the Jugaku Corporation. I think Brad spent too much time baking in the sun. Sure, a new age was dawning, but the countries, their governments turned into nothing. The companies held the real power. Take Jugaku Corp. Jugaku was just a small company when the war started. They started all that graph tech research to make money in the dominance war. They were smart. Over the years, they developed all kinds of patents, dozens of new techs, but always Hover Ride was the star. Jugaku finished Hover Ride and that was it. The whole world wanted it. I'd say Jugaku Corp ran the reconstructive age. Who else was more successful? Had more power? Nobody. Same as now, no one knew who ran it. Still don't. And they still have their fingers in everybody's pie. Even mine. But when they started making hover cars and boards, there wasn't any doubt which company was on top. And they make great boards. So, we know the main corporation that got into everyone's shit and won the war over, basically. The next racer is Max. Bah! Yeah, that's what he does a lot in the game. Bah! Precious Rose speaks only of the pretty surface. What a surprise! She chooses to forget, or more likely, is ignorant about the pure destruction and chaos that Jugaku caused. She forgets the series of disasters they caused. Remember the Lunar Watch moon base explosion? My god, the moon shifted in its rotation. There was havoc with the Earth's tides and gravitational forces, mass flooding worldwide. And the sick thing is, they got called in to clean up disaster they created. And people thought they were heroes. The Japanese government ended up commissioning Jugaku Corp to build a floating platform that would sustain a city. So Jugaku built the hover ride base for aerial Tokyo. They won back the public and pulled off the greatest PR stunt of all time. Heck, it's the jewel of the East, right? Smoke and mirrors, that's all. Good technology, but there's blood on every board. So, already reading this, I got pretty fucking devastated. Because this sounds like something that would happen in a few years, you know. I don't like where this is going. So let's go to the next page. Here we have a Russian friend, Colonel Yuri, from Russia, of course. And we will read about how the utopian age began and about the creation of the One World Confederacy, OWC. Silence, Max. Your penchant for droning on is as great and tiresome as your absurdly bloated ego. I'll see you crushed on the Pro Tour circuit. That will take some wind out of you. Just note, it took me some time to figure out, why is it written weird and the W's are single V's? He's the only one to have an accent in this written text, for fuck's sake, I don't know why. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. After the flooding, the Utopian Age. This was the formation of the One World Confederacy, with Jugaku chairing the committee, every remaining government signing up. The Utopian Age brought about the perfect, blessed society. No one was a have-not. Everyone could have anything they desired. Crime was at an old-time low. People no longer needed to work. Everything became available through the state. All the OWC asked for in return from the people was a total loyalty and obedience. A small price for so much in return. What the fuck is going on? This is a racing game. I didn't expect to get through politics and conglomerate power. Holy shit. Anyway, there's also something called the fettered state, which is the way it's spelled makes me laugh every time I say it, the fettered states. And here we have Zach talking about it. Sure, clowns like Colonel Yuri and his kind had it easy, living in floating cities like some giant carrot carnival. But only parts of the earth fell under the so-called peaceful aura of the OWG and enjoyed its utopian age. No, brother, there were plenty of places the peaceful aura didn't shine. Doomed hells, where roving bandits and mercenaries roamed. Loose societies where men made their own laws. The fettered states, the cities like New Orleans, Bangkok, Belfast, Moscow, Amsterdam, and my very own Old Bayside, among others. So now we know that there was the OWC, which was the utopia, and the fettered states where everything was still shit. Awesome. Sounds like something that could happen, and I'm scared. So let's read about how the OWC's problems began, and King is going to tell us about the hoverboarding appearing. But Zach knows, just like this hunk of love does, that the real fun started a few years later. The OWC had its own share of problems. Only a few folks are allowed to work full-time, so mostly everybody all around the world was bored out of their ever-loving minds. Like always, the young folks got the worst of this boredom bug. So to sort of amuse themselves, they got interested in hoverboarding, which was, and still is, a real dangerous sport that the folks of the fettered states like Czech had taken up. But you know what the sweetness of the whole deal was? Hoverboard technology was based on Jugaku's hover ride products. So we have a utopia where people are bored out of their minds, and the corpo monetizes the boredom and makes them buy the boards and do the hoverboarding. Okay. Now Shin, he's the one with the helmet that does nothing, and he's gonna tell us about Jugaku's core creation of the TRICKSTYLE tournament. So this is where we're getting into the game itself and what the TRICKSTYLE tournament is. Jugaku saw most sensibly the stirrings of rebellion and embraced this new sport, deciding to make much profit on it. Of course, fucking corpo. Jugaku humbly gave this sport a precious small gift to the loyal citizens of the OWC, the TRICKSTYLE Pro Tournament. Jugaku provided everything, the tournament, the prizes, and sometimes later, me, its first champion. So we know that one of the racers, Shin, has ties with the Jugaku Corpo, and the game we are playing is this TRICKSTYLE Pro Tournament made by the corporation. Okay, let's talk about Jugaku's champion. So Angel tells us, naturally, people from all walks of life entered the competition simply desperate for their chance to become a glorious pop star with super celebrity status. It was a kick to try out, you know, because everything was so frightfully dull otherwise. Nice, I mean, but quite dull. This mysterious little speed demon teenager named Shin won the Jugaku Corp sponsorship and won the major tournament 5 years in a row. Shin's still Jugaku's only sponsored athlete. So we know that Jugaku can give sponsorships, but decides to give them only to this one person. And the other ones are kinda underdogs because this dude has won like a million times. So what's Shin's got to say about that? What Angel says is quite correct, but Jugaku never worry, only concerned to give the best opportunity to everybody. Aerial Tokyo was the home of the TRICKSTYLE Pro Tour for the first year. Each and every year following, the city becomes packed as thousands of citizens make a pilgrimage to the sporting mecca, the Tokyo Skydrome. That's the last, to watch the final race of the season. So the Tokyo Skydrome is the track where you can fall to your doom. The guide speaks again. In fact, the rewards of winning the competition have increased to such a degree that a TRICKSTYLE Pro Tour champion is now given a lifetime mayorship of the OWC city of their choice, effectively being given their own little kingdom. Not a bad prize to be competing for, yes? So now we finally learn what they're actually competing for. So they can get their own chunk of land and do whatever they want with it. It's starting to make sense. They're not just going for sponsorships and money and fame and pop stardom as Angel thinks. I mean, she's 18 and British, of course. She thinks like she's gonna become a pop star and everything's gonna be great and she's gonna be a celebrity. But they're actually going for mayordom of a city of their choice. That's a big fucking deal. And we will later learn, as we go through the different contestants, what they want to do with their mayordom. And it gets quite concerning. So this was the story. It's kind of unnerving. Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I love it. It's amazing. I love dystopias. And fun fact, I listened to the TRICKSTYLE OST when I was writing my own dystopian novel. So it kind of should have made sense in my mind when I was doing that, but now it's, confirmed. So we learn about board selection, about the velodrome. I've told you basically everything about that. We learn about the character types. The guide tells us, my friends, the 9 characters available to you at the start of the game are of 3 board styles, Race of Thunder and Bully. That's what I already told you. that you have to fucking care for the bullies and where they are. And we go to character bios and we start with Angel. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little crush on Angel, but then again, I had a crush on almost everyone in this game because they were such compelling characters to me, even though I knew nothing about them. But they have their little characteristics in the game, so that's really fun. And I am really stoked that I can finally learn the real origins and something more about them, because, you know, this is just a racing game, but the lore is getting insane, so I can't wait to learn about all this shit. So Angel, her real name is Sarah, her country is England. Of course, she is a racer, so she will just go fast. And often, as I said, like, the characters speak during the races, and she's usually just like, woo! She's just having fun racing, you know. It's great. You know, her base of operation is Oxford, England, and her known enemies are Mia and Precious Rose. So there are 3 women in the cast, let's say, in the racing cast, and they are known enemies to each other because they are, well, it usually says in the manual that it's because they are all beautiful women. So that's fun. She has a known ally, which is Zach. We'll learn about Zach later. She is a student, she's just 18, you know? So being a straight A student from St. Mary's Convent School, Angel is easily bored and finds hoverboarding competition a welcome distraction. What a British thing to say, man. Angel was orphaned at an early age when her mother Lucinda died of mysterious circumstances. She never knew her father. Parentheses, she is the daughter of a fellow racer, Max, though neither Angel or Max is aware of this. This is such an unnecessary information for this game, but I love it. After her mother's death, Angel was bounced from one British prep school to the other. Now in the Pro Tour, the young Angel has suddenly realized just how skilled she is and is beginning to focus on the championship. So much so that she's already decided that if she wins, she will use the awesome resources of the Jugaku Corporation to find her family. She has a natural rivalry going with Mia and Precious Rose, the other hot young ladies of the competition. Her main ally is Zach, who has a crush on her. She tolerates his overly obvious display of affection, but is only interested in him for amusement and not romance. Good, because Angel is 18 and Zach is only 16, so good for you, Angel. Don't get entangled with a child. We go alphabetically, so the next person is Brad, and as I told you, Brad looks very different in the game and in the prospects, and in here looks like weird old Quicksilver from the X-Men. But yeah, his name is Brad. He's from Australia. He's also a racer, so he just goes fast. He's 25. His hair is bleached blonde, which is an interesting information to me. So he bleaches his hair. He's from Brisbane, Australia, but now operates in Point Danger, Australia, and has no known enemies and no known allies. Brad is pretty shallow, let's say that. Back in the heydays of monster wave surfing off the rugged shark-infested coast of Australia, Brad earned his reputation as a fearless, headbanging, go-for-broke competitor. Brash almost to the point of recklessness and heedless of possible death, Brad soon reached the top of the monster wave surfing circuit. Now moving on to bigger challenges, he has relocated to Point Danger to devote himself full-time to becoming the world's best gravity surfer. Brad is a true extreme sports star. He has done everything from base jumping to parasailing and has won many awards. Brad is continually striving to challenge himself. He sees the TRICKSTYLE Pro Tour as another way to prove that he is the ultimate extreme sports star. Brad is fucking bland, man. There's like nothing special about him even when racing. He's pretty vanilla and I don't really like racing as him. Next one is King. My King, the king of my heart. I played a lot as King as a kid because he was just really entertaining to me. His real name is Carlos and he's from Cuba. And he is a stunter, so if you want to do jumps, this is your dude. He's 42, he's one of the oldest ones in this game. His name is Jet Black, parentheses, died. And He's from Guantanamo, Cuba, now lives in Havana, Cuba. Fun thing, his hobbies are celebrity impersonation and entertaining. Known throughout the world for his award-winning work as a movie stuntman, now retired, Carlos has quickly become the heartthrob of the Latin community for his uncanny renditions of 1960s top 10 hits. The year is 2099 and he's doing 1960s top 10 hits. That's commitment, bro. As a pro tourer, King uses the same skills he mastered as a stuntman to stunt his way through the tracks. Loved by the fans and seen as the eccentric uncle of the sport by the other pro tourers, King has become a mainstay of TRICKSTYLE. Okay, it makes sense that I loved him because he's the eccentric uncle of the sport. I'm the eccentric uncle of pretty much everything I do, so that makes sense. However, beneath all the wigs and costumes, underneath the fun and humor, King wants to win. He has it all planned out if he does. First, he will use his reward to become the mayor of Havana. Then, using all the power and prestige he will achieve from the position, he will launch himself as a movie star, which is what he thinks he should have been in the first time around, not relegated to simply being a stuntman. So we kind of start learning that these peoples aren't just racers, they had lives prior to this competition, and now they are competing to achieve something, to achieve some goal in their lives. Let's talk about Colonel Yuri. Yuri is from Russia. He is the first bully that we encounter. Obviously, because he's Russian and he looks like a soldier, so of course he's a bully, he's gonna fuck you up. He's 38, he lives in Moscow grounds, which is a local gym. That's funny. His known enemies are Max and Zach. And from the talking before, from telling the story of the world, you can tell that Yuri really fucking hates Max, which is really funny to me because they're both bullies and stuff. It's amazing. And his occupation is military history professor. Born outside of the OWC in what he fondly calls Mother Russia, Yuri is a throwback spirit to the wilder days of nations being at war. His interest in war has led to his passions for military history and love of his country. Getting older, Yuri realized there might be only one way to aid his homeland: enter the tournament and use his natural skill and strength to fight his way to the top. Winning, he would take his prize to the mayorship of Neo Moscow, so we know there's a new Moscow right now, and rebuild Russia to its former glory. During one of these tournaments, Yuri met a boarder with an aggressive style remarkably like his own, Max. He and Max soon developed a competitive relationship and fed on the challenge of racing one another. During one of their most physical races, they ended up crashing through a building on the track. While Yuri emerged physically intact, Max was seriously injured. Max publicly blamed Yuri for the crash and his loss. Yuri raged at the slender, maintaining Max's own carelessness was the cause. Now their competitions are major draws because of their mutual hatred for one another. Not one to make friends, Yuri has recently drawn an ire of a new competitor to the TRICKSTYLE circuit, the youthful Zach. Yuri was close to winning a race when Zach unleashed a barrage of insults that momentarily made Yuri lose his concentration and lose the race to Zach. Yuri was furious, but Zach dodged all of Yuri's attacks, and unsatisfied Yuri vows to break him. Okay, this is funny as heck. So you have this 40-year-old dude almost winning a race, and then this 16-year-old just zooms around him, screaming profanities at him, being like, "Fuck you, dude, fuck your mom," and it takes Yuri out of the business, and Zach just fucking wins. That's epic. That's amazing. You gotta love kids. Teenagers scare the shit out of me. My Chemical Romance was right. Teenagers are fucking scary, and Zach is one of them. So let's go to Max, the main nemesis of Yuri. His real name is Magnus, and his country is Germany. So I have also encountered some information that Max is actually from Iceland. That's when his name is Magnus, which would make sense, but whatever. It says Germany here, it says Germany in the PC game that I have, so let's go. He's 42, and this guy is not 42, man. This guy is like 60, but okay. Place of birth, Neskaupstadur, Germany. Okay, Neskaupstadur really sounds Icelandic, so I don't know what's happening here. But right now he lives in the fettered state of Belfast. His known enemy is Colonel Yuri, of course, and his known ally is Mia, so he is a friend of Mia, and he used to be a mercenary. Cool job to like change for skating, dude. Max is a Badland born and bred. Brought up in what was once Germany, he wants nothing more than to carve out his own empire in the fettered states. Born a warrior, Max began his adult life as a mercenary. Years ago, Max sustains major damage in an intense TRICKSTYLE tournament competition with Colonel Yuri. We learned about that. Max puts all the blame on Yuri and has sworn vengeance. Extensive injuries called Max to seek out an old friend who had since left the vigilante world to start his own armor business. He aided Max in undergoing a cyborg-like process of meshing mech armor and artificial prosthetics with his body, making Max more machine than man. Okay, this is interesting because Max is like best of the bullies. Like if you want to fuck someone up, you pick Max. But also, his body is so big that you cannot see shit in front of you. That's why I don't like playing with him. And it makes sense that like his body is made of all of this stuff, so he's this bulky giant man. Yeah, all fits. I like that. During Max's rebuilding process, he had a relationship with his friend's sister, Lucinda. The affair ended abruptly when Lucinda left, disgusted with the mercenary morals. Unbeknownst to Max, Lucinda was pregnant, and eventually Sarah, otherwise known as Angel, was born. Lucinda died several years later, and Sarah grew up an orphan. Max is unaware of Sarah's existence. Now 42, Max is beginning to realize that his strength will not last forever, so he is giving his all to this pro tournament. If he wins, he will get to take his place as a ruler of an already conquered empire. Max has set his heart on the mayorship of decadent Singapore City, the commerce center of New World. Okay, so what we know now is that Angel has a dad and she has an uncle, because Lucinda, her mom, was the sister of this Max's friend. So that's interesting. Don't get me wrong, it goes nowhere in the game, but it's interesting. So let's go to Mia. Mia is from France. She's a stunter, so she is a stunt queen. Her age is 24, so she's quite young. She's from Paris. She is in Paris. Her known enemies are, of course, Angel and Precious Rose. Her known allies are Max. I don't know how those two met, but okay. And she is a spoiled debutante. Fun fact, the version of game I have, the PC version for Europe, has Mia wearing pants, which is not something that was in the first iteration of the game, and they had to cover her up because people were complaining because she looks like a fucking dominatrix. So they just gave her pants. That fixed it, I guess. So born into a wealthy French family, Mia studied dance in Paris and then went on to win European Low-Graph tournament. But the pressure was too much and she sank into a life of excess. The TRICKSTYLE tournament has given her the way to gain independence from her family, as well as give herself the opportunity to make her mark on society. At the age of 24, with her money running out, she has relaunched herself into the public eye and hopes that her natural agility and skill will win her the lucrative sponsorship deal, as well as the tournament and her prize from Jugaku. She wants Paris for herself, and naturally, there is an intense rivalry with the other attractive young females of the group. Jesus, stop calling them that. Angel and Precious Rose. The trio are nasty and bitter towards each other and do everything they can to ruin each other's chances of winning. Mia is close friends with Angel's father, Max. Mia looks like a dominatrix, and because she's French, The only thing she says on the track is like, I have a date. And every time I hear that, I laugh during the race. Like, you're in the middle of like the gut-wrenching fucking bloodthirsty race, and she's like, I have a date. It's amazing, dude. My girl Rose, I used to play for her a lot, and she was one, my crush, and two, I really wanted to be like her. I knew nothing about her, mind you, but I wanted to be like her because she is built like a tank, and she can take anyone down because she's a bully. So her real name is Nettie, she's from Jamaica, she's 20, and she is a powerlifter, which is absolutely great. You go, Rose. So born into poverty in the slums of Kingston, Nettie quickly learned that often might makes right. Fed up with women, content to struggle helplessly in squalor, Nettie decided at an early age to become the biggest, toughest woman ever seen. So she's a bad bitch and I love her. She worked night and day in a warehouse lifting crates. Shunning school, she stole and hustled vitamins and food. Okay, the way they put vitamins before food is really funny. It's amazing. Thinking only of becoming the true Amazon. She ended up being the terror of her neighborhood. A female bully strong enough to gain a spot on the Jamaican powerlifting squad. Spotted by the president of a large fitness company, Nettie was hired on the spot as an endorser. Now with her popularity at its peak in Brazil, the company wants to take Nettie and the company worldwide. And what better way to do it than the TRICKSTYLE Pro Tournament, where Rosie's athleticism and agility can be seen on a worldwide stage. But Nettie has much more planned than just participating in the tournament. She plans on winning the whole event and leaving to start her own chain of women's gyms. So that's interesting that Nettie doesn't want a fucking city for herself. She doesn't want to rule the world. She just wants to empower other women. That's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely one of the better things we've read so far. Let's go to Shin from Japan. His real name is unknown, although there are some names for him. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off topic. I was looking for Shin's full name because I'm sure I read it somewhere. And I found a actual fucking Czech article about TRICKSTYLE. And it goes into like, wow, that goes into quite a detail. Mind you, in the year 1999, 2000, most people didn't have internet still here. So it's fun to find something like this actually focused on a game. Okay, oh my god, they're talking about some, I'm sorry for going off topic, I'm really sorry, but they're talking about the racers, and they actually translated their names into Czech for some fucking reason. So Angel is called Angelka, and Angelka is like a very out of date Czech name. Like my great grandma would be called Angelka. And this is like a futuristic game from 2099, and they call her Angelka. This is insane. I love this. Okay, they're trying to explain the gameplay, but you know that they got like the English CD and they didn't really have much of the abilities to translate it. So it's kind of misleading here, but it's still fun. And they explain sort of the story, and the last sentence is, but truly, they just ride and jump. It's amazing. Okay, I didn't find the name, but fuck it, that doesn't matter. Let's talk about Shin. I'm sorry about the off track. No one has seen Shin outside of his high-tech Jugaku suit in 40 years. Many people say that the real Shin has been dead for years, replaced by a Jugaku Corp's secret cyborg project. Interesting. When asked for comment, executives of Jugaku Corp just smile. As a teen, Shin perfected his board techniques in the suburbs of aerial Tokyo. His sheer speed alone made him a minor cult star with the local kids, but he needed greater challenges. The day he heard about the Jugaku trials must have been one of the happiest in his life. He left family and school and underwent 6 months of tryouts against thousands of competitors until he alone stood as champion. But that may have been the beginning of the end for him. Following the tryouts, Shin was not seen for 3 months. When he finally reappeared, he was decked out in a super slick Jugaku suit. No one ever saw him out of his suit again, and he never removed even his helmet when in public. Shin went on to become a super TRICKSTYLE champion, routinely taking the top prize, except for a brief disappearance during his 35th year on the TRICKSTYLE circuit. Dead and replaced by a new cyborg, or withered old man in a power suit. No one but the tabloids know for sure. Okay, this gives us an important information that the TRICKSTYLE Pro Tournament has been going for like 40 years. So there must have been a lot of racers before, and this group of 9 people is like today's champions of the Pro Tour. Okay, 40 years, huh? That's a long time for them, like, not coming with some new form of entertainment. So these people really must love the hoverboarding, dude. Their last person is Zach. His real name Zachary. He's from America. He's a stunter, so he jumps like crazy. He's just 16, so he's the youngest of the bunch. He's from the fair states of Old Bayside, and his known enemy is Colonel Yuri. Although I think Zach is Yuri's enemy. Yuri is not Zach's enemy. Zach just shouts profanity at everyone. And he is basically just a racer. I mean, he's 16. What else do we want from him? So, orphaned at a young age, Zach hails from the fettered states of the New York underground. He had no real family and no real ambition. He grew up dabbling in petty crime in the badlands surrounding New York, and soon found hoverboards a good way to escape local law enforcement. So he started hoverboarding just to piss off cops. During one particular chase, Zach's acrobatics were spotted by TRICKSTYLE Pro Tour scouts. Given an option of joining the Pro Tour or going to juvenile hall, Zach chose the Pro Tour. Understandable. Good for you, man. What he didn't expect was how much he would enjoy it. He currently revels in his celebrity status and dreams of the fame and glory he will achieve when he wins outright. He has spent many a race insulting competitors from his board above the streets of New York, a technique which enraged the volatile Colonel Yuri. Yuri hates Zach and has vowed to eliminate him from the competition. So this dude just like rides through New York on his hoverboard and yells at people. That's the life, man. That's amazing. The next thing is a chapter about the boards. So you have the standard board that you start with as an overall great board. You have the standard board, which is slower but great for stunts. The turbo board, which you need for the last race in Japan, otherwise you're fucked. And there's the bully board that helps you fuck everyone up. So far, what we have learned is that there was some sort of World War III, and all the countries got fucked up. And it was a bloodshed never seen before, as Mia said. Big corpos, led by Jugaku Corp, were like, okay, we can fix this. We're gonna pour money into the world, and all we need from you is obedience. Easy peasy. So there is a part of the world that falls under the OWC, where Jugaku pumps money into it, and there's pretty much socialism, I guess. Nobody has to work. There's only a handful of people who have to work because someone probably has to make the boards. People got bored, so because Jugaku was already making the hoverboard technology, they started making boards to monetize it, and so that people will stop being bored. And they saw that people are getting great on the boards and started the big competition, scouting people all over the world to get into the huge TRICKSTYLE Pro competition. Over the time, the prizes got bigger, and right now, if you win, you can become a mayor of a city of your choice from the OWC part of the world, which is something these ambitious people are going for. There is also a part of the world called the Federate States. Still makes me laugh, where Jugaku is not present and people live in poverty and everything's still shit, just as it was after war. What we know about racers is most of them have had different careers before starting to race, and then they decided to start racing. They became good at it, they realized they love it, and they all have their goals they want to achieve by winning and getting the power they get by winning. There's Shin, who has been like a 40 times champion or something. He is basically the Jugaku plant. So this makes me think that he might not be a cyborg, but he definitely is planted in the competition by the Jugaku, because he keeps winning, which means nobody gets the prize. He is their puppet, so he probably doesn't want anything. So the price of becoming a mayor and becoming powerful is basically something you cannot win, because Shin is just so good. And that's true in the game. Shin is the most well-rounded competitor, and riding with him is the most powerful and the easiest. So you have all these people, there's 9 of them in this year's competition, and this year's competition is taking place in London, in Manhattan, and in Tokyo. So let's see something about the race worlds. This year's Pro Tour will take you through the toughest city courses on the globe: London, Manhattan, and Tokyo. Each of the cities will feature 5 races taking in the sights, sounds, and historical location of the sprawling cities. So London, the crowded... Well, it's not crowded, there are no people, man. The crowded high-rise metropolis that London has become mixes shiny new plus steel buildings with an old crumbling landmarks like Big Ben, St. Paul's, and Tower Bridge. Being the first city in the pre-tour does not mean it's a walkover. Its towering buildings and traffic-jammed streets hide many shortcuts for the keen-eyed surfer and many dangers for those new in the tour. Yeah, that's true. Just because it's first doesn't mean it's easy. It fucking sucks, just like the other ones. And yeah, it's not crowded, man. There's no one in there. Manhattan, a climate shift has turned Manhattan Island and the rest of New York tropical. Okay, that makes sense why everything is covered in plants in there. Old concrete buildings have been literally torn apart by the encroaching undergrowth, and now the resilient plus steel towers rise up through a jungle canopy that leaves the streets below dark and humid. Yet the city has not lost any of its bustle and vibrancy. As far as the Pro Tour goes, the sheer density of the city always makes for interesting and dangerous competitions. Be warned. And the last one is Tokyo. Aerial Tokyo. So we know now that Tokyo is in the sky. Aerial Tokyo, the star of the east, hangs effortlessly above the Pacific Ocean and what is left of the island of Japan. The power base of Jugaku, Tokyo is of course the governmental center of the entire OWC. More importantly, at least for the general public, Tokyo is the home of the Pro Tour. And Shin says, I return here always a winner. And what are you here? I don't know, man. Leave me alone. Don't put pressure on me. I'm just trying to play my game here. So yeah, that's probably all we can get lore-wise from the booklet. We can say that my suspicions were correct. A lot of the times there are high stakes and it is a problem when you lose. The characters are in right to act the way they act. Also, they're not AI. And it's not a computer-generated thing, but still, it is an entertainment thing that was created for basically because people were bored, which is insane. This plays a lot into how world is right now, how corporation can make or break an economy, they can make or break your life, and they can... You know, they have the power, they have the money to save the whole world. They just choose not to until it's too late. Because when it's too late, they can actually monetize their help. They can monetize anything they want. Believe it or not, the 1999 game TRICKSTYLE is actually a great commentary on consumerism, on idols and celebrities, because we learned that a lot of these people want to get a sponsorship or have a sponsorship of some kind, and they enjoy their celebrity status, even though all they do is skating. which in this context is a really hard thing to do. But the main reason why they are like this is because there is no other way to be. Because you cannot be just a normal person. As Angel says, being a normal person fucking sucks. It's boring and it's incredibly dull. So these people who want to do something and want to be something have no other choice than to start trick styling. They truly believe they will change their lives by winning, even though the game is rigged against them from the whole start. Jugaku doesn't care about poor people like Rose or Zack or Angel. They don't care about making your life better. When you win, they basically want to give you unlimited power, and all of these people want to use the power for themselves. And yes, there's Angel who wants to find her family, and there's Rose who wants to empower other women. But you also have Mia who just wants to own Paris, and Max who wants his new world that he could rule. And we have Yuri who, yes, does this to help his country, but deep down, this is not about helping other people. None of these people are really trying to help anyone. All of them are selfish, and it makes sense in a world that makes you like this. They were made to be selfish, and all they ever knew was that this is the best thing in the world. The best thing in the world you can do is win a fucking race. It's ruthless, it's inhumane, and yet they still decide to do it. And as I said, the game is rigged against them. Shin is not gonna lose. Shin is gonna win another year, because none of these people have what Shin has, which is the big corpo having his back. These people try to go for their dreams, and they will try this year, and they will try next year, and the next, and the next, until someone better comes and pushes them out of the competition, or they fall from the sky and they will never be heard of again. Because the death, apparently, is still better than being bored in a dull world. Okay, let's wrap it up. This was one of my yapping thing, and you can expect some more about the games I mentioned in the start of the video. Thank you so much for listening. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to do anything. I'm just glad you listened. And if you have the chance, go to Steam or GOG, buy TRICKSTYLE, and try to enjoy it. And pour yourself into those worlds, into those cities. Pour yourself into that fucking great, amazing music. Because you will hear nothing like that, feel nothing like that anywhere else. So yeah, enjoy the Doom. Bye.